Good morning, good evening, whatever it is, wherever are YouTube. So we're going to be out with our first race in Easter, so just going through a few little jobs that needed doing before the season started. Now we have a regular crewman, and I was going to reinforce the front bunk so that it would take his weight, but frankly it's not really a feasible way of doing it. But there are a few other things that bother me. These cupboards last year were just constantly falling open, and everything in these cupboards was falling out, which meant at the end of every weekend I had to take all the cans, everything out, put them into like a basket, which we use for other things within the awning and the race setup. But I had to unload all the cupboards, everything, every single time we moved, which was a real nightmare. So what we've done is just made these not only a bit more positively latching. Now we have touched on the latching mechanisms before, but we're going to go into that in a bit more detail. Actually made them stay open and put some bracketry in there to retain everything. So now the only way you can get something out is if you actually want to. That's going to make life a lot easier because I don't have to effectively move out of the thing every time we move. So just a quick update, not much to see I know, but we're going to go through. And there has been a slight problem with this LED strip behind me, and it's been flickering. And the reason for that is the only place I could find a suitable switch live for the front one was to tap into the stereo. But that's wired with quite small cable anyway, probably smaller than I'd like, and the load of the strip and the load of the stereo meant it was sometimes not getting enough power. So I've moved that onto a different outlet, tidied up wiring and put a new switch in, and now it works absolutely perfectly with no flickering at all. So all the LED lighting is now perfect. So what I've done here is I've used the service output here on the 10 amp output from the what they call the service outlet here on the control unit for the caravan to power the LED strip. Now this currently powers sockets in the caravan as well, but I don't use 12-volt sockets. That really is quite redundant. So now I've used mini Molexes so I can actually get everything through and click it together without having to make any extra holes, and rather than having to solder it in situ. It's wired in via the mini Molex connectors, and it simply goes up here and out to the LED strip. That means that we just have the same type of switch. We put that light down, we don't need that now. Same type of switch. Only difference on this switch is it doesn't have the little LED on it. However, originally I was thinking it was actually the switch that was causing the problem. So initially I just changed the switch, but it wasn't. It was because it was taking power from the radio as well. But of course, with that working, our radio still works absolutely fine as well. And neither one is robbing power from anything else. So one of the problems that I've had last year was because these catches on the cupboards aren't particularly strong. I've now put a retained catch on there as well, which helps, but these main ones, I mean, they're old and they don't really hold. If a can or something hits that, it just falls its way out as you're going down the road and goes everywhere. Now I've reattached this, that wasn't attached, so I now reattach this, which helps, and I've put this piece of wood in here which stops everything going anywhere, which is nice. I've segregated it off here so I can put cups in there, so that's all good. So the only other thing I've got left to do here now is put two more of these cupboard catches on. So these are very simple. So the way I do it, which is quite straightforward, is just to get them roughly in position and get a drill. Rather overly long drill bit in it, but it's going to be okay. That's pretty much where I want it. And I only need to make a tiny, tiny, tiny indent on this. So there we go. Because these are laminated anyway, so there's nothing actually much underneath it. So once you've got the point in and started, it's pretty straightforward. So drop it through like that. Put your screw in. Magnetic screwdrivers can be a pain as well as a blessing. And down we screw. I don't use the electric screwdriver for this because it's a bit too aggressive. Very rapidly you'll find you're just stripping everything out. This is more than adequate. You need the feel. I want to set this so it's just very slightly proud. You don't want the catch being held back by the edge of the cupboard. Oop, there's that screw in there. The other advantage by segregating the cupboard like this, anything in this front half, again, doesn't have very far to go. So it really is going to stop stuff rolling about. The reason I'm putting this off centre is I'm going to put 2 positive catches on this. So now, to align the second part of the catch, all we need to do, hold that in position, look underneath, and that's our position about there. Just make sure it's straight, perfect. And again, just nip it. That's plenty. You see that goes straight through there, it's because there's nothing inside this wood. Windy old day out there today, but that's not a problem. There is a storm coming. But I have washed and Bobby dazzled the outside, so we're going to get it roughly in position. Now these have a little edge that helps bite into the woodwork. So there you go, nice and positively latched. That stays locked, opens and stays open. Same here. When that in place, none of our canned goods are going to go anywhere. So that's just another job off the list, just to make things a little bit more habitable. One of the jobs that was completed off camera was a refit in the washroom here. It had had some water ingress up in this top corner a long time in the past. It had been resealed, is now completely dry and has been ever since I had the caravan, but it left some terrible staining across here. Now I managed to find a border that matches the decor of the washroom really nicely, so I put the border across, took the mirror off to do that, and it matches this unit here well as well. Carried this across and painted this, and actually used satin, like a gloss paint, but a satin version of. And that sealed in and didn't allow the water staining to penetrate back out, which would have happened with an emulsion. So I carried the border on across here, but as you can see there, we've now got a nice towel rail in there, some matching towels, and even a nice little chrome toilet roll holder. So that's really updated that bathroom, washroom area, made it a lot nicer place to be. So there we go, that's just a few jobs out the way, and we'll be beginning our race season at Easter, which means that will be the first weekend away with the caravan as well. So everything's ready. So if you like these videos, hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you soon.